Welcome to the 1,000 Nights and One Night. Now, when it was the 306th night, she said, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that Salih continued. So I acquainted the commander of the faithful with all that passed, and Al-Rashid marveled at the generosity and benevolence of Yahya, and the vileness and ingratitude of Mansur, and bade restore the jewel to Yahya, saying, Whatso we have given it befitteth us not to take again. After that, Salih returned to Yahya, and acquainted him with the tale of Mansur and his ill conduct, whereupon he replied, O Salih, when a man is in want, sick at heart, and sad of thought, he is not to be blamed for aught that falleth upon him, for it cometh not from the heart. And on this wise he took to seeking excuse for Mansur. But Salih wept, and exclaimed, Never shall the revolving heavens bring forth into the being the like of thee, O Yahya. Alas, and well away that one of such noble nature and generosity should be laid in the dust. And he replied these two couplets. Haste to do kindness, thou dost men tend. Thou canst not always be boon expend. How many from bounty themselves withheld, till means of bounty and come to end. And men tell another tale of the generous dealings of Yahya, son of Khalid, with a man who forged a letter in his name. There was between Yahya bin Khalid and Abdullah bin Malik al-Qaziyah an enmity which they kept secret, the reason of the hatred being that Harun al-Rashid loved Abdullah with exceeding love, so that Yahya and his sons were wont to say that he had bewitched the commander of the faithful. And thus they abode a long while with rancor in their hearts, till it fell out that the Caliph invested Abdullah with the government of Armenia, and dispatched him thither. Now, soon after he had settled himself in his seat of government, there came to him one of the people of Iraq, a man of good breeding and excellent parts and abundant cleverness. But he had lost his money, and wasted his wealth and his estate, and was come to ill case. So he forged a letter to Abdullah bin Malik in the name of Yahya bin Khalid, and set out, therefore, to Armenia. Now when he came to the governor's gate, he gave the letter to one of the chamberlains, who took it in and carried it to his master. Abdullah opened it and read it, and considering it attentively, knew it to be forged. So he sent for the man who presented himself before him, and calling down blessings upon him, and praised him with those of his court. Quoth Abdullah to him, What moveth thee to weary thyself on this wise, and bring me a forged letter? But be of good heart, for we will not disappoint thy travail. Replied the other, Allah prolong the life of our lord the Wazir. If my coming annoy thee, cast not about for a pretext to repel me, for Allah's earth is wide, and he who giveth daily bread shall liveth. Indeed, the letter I bring thee from Yahya bin Khalid is true, and no forgery. Quoth Abdullah, I will write a letter to my agent at Baghdad, and command him to inquire concerning this same letter. If it be true as thou sayest, and genuine, and not forged by thee, I will bestow on thee the emirship of one of my cities. Or, if thou prefer a present, I will give thee 200,000 dirhams, besides horses and camels of price, and a robe of honor. But, if the letter prove a forgery, I will order that thou be beaten with 200 blows of a stick, and thy beard be shaven. So Abdullah bade confine him in a chamber, and furnish him therein with all he needed till his case should be made manifest. Then he dispatched a letter to his agent at Baghdad by the following effect. There is come to me a man with a letter purporting to be from Yahya bin Khalid. Now I have my suspicions of this letter. Therefore delay thou not in the matter, but go thyself and look carefully into the case, and let me have an answer with all speed, in order that we may know what is true and what is untrue. When the letter reached Baghdad, the agent mounted at once, and Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased to say her permitted say. Now, when it was the 307th night, she said, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that the agent of Abdullah son of Malik al-Qaziyah, on receipt of the letter in Baghdad, mounted at once and repaired to the house of Yahya bin Khalid, whom he found sitting with his officers and boon companions. After the usual salute, he gave him the letter, and Yahya read it and said to the agent, "Come back to me tomorrow for my written answer." Now, when the agent had gone away, Yahya turned to his companions and said, "What doth he deserve who forgeth a letter in my name and carrieth to my foe?" They answered all and each saying this and that, and every one proposing some kind of punishment. But Yahya said, "Ye err in that ye say, and this your counsel is of the baseness of your spirits and the meanness of your minds. Ye all know the close favour Abdullah with the Caliph, and ye weet of what is between him and us of anger and enmity. And now Almighty Allah hath made this man the means of reconciliation between us, and hath fitted him for such purpose, and hath appointed him to quench the fire of ire in our hearts, which hath been growing these 20 years, and by his means our differences shall be adjusted. Wherefore, it behoveth me to requite such a man by verifying his assertion and amending his estate. So I will write him a letter to Abdullah son of Malik, praying that he may use him with increase of honor, and continue to him his liberality." Now, when his companions heard what he said, they called down blessings on him, and marveled at his generosity and the greatness of his magnanimity. Then he called for paper and ink, and wrote Abdullah a letter in his hand to the following effect: "In the name of Allah the Compassionate, the Compassionating, of a truth thy letter hath reached me. Allah give thee long life. And I am glad to hear of thy safety, and pleased to be assured of thy immunity and prosperity. It was thy thought that a certain worthy man had forth a letter in my name, and that he was not the bearer of any message from the same. But the case is not so, for the letter I myself wrote, and it was no forgery. And I hope of thy courtesy and consideration, and the nobility of thy nature, that thou wilt gratify this generous and excellent man of his hope and wish, and honour him with the honour he deserveth, and bring him to his desire, and make him the special object of thy favour and munificence. Whatso thou dost with him, it is to me that thou dost the kindness, and I am thankful to thee accordingly." Then he superscribed the letter, and after sealing it, delivered it to the agent with dispatch to Abdullah. Now, when the governor read it, he was charmed with its contents, and sending for the man, said to him, "Whichever of the two promised boons is the more acceptable to thee, that will I give thee." The man replied, "The money gift were more acceptable to me than aught else." Whereupon Abdullah ordered him 200,000 dirhams, 10 Arab horses, 5 with housings of silk, and the other 5 with richly ornamented saddles, used in state processions, besides 20 chests of clothes, 10 mounted white slaves, and a proportionate quantity of jewels of price. Moreover, he bestowed on him a dress of honor, and sent him to Baghdad in great splendor. So when he came hither, he repaired to the door of Yahya's house before he went to his own folk, and craved permission to enter and have audience. The chamberlain went in to Yahya and said to him, "O my lord, there is one at the door who craveth speech of thee, and he is a man of apparent wealth, courteous in manner, comely of aspect, and attended by many servants." Then Yahya bade admit him, and when he entered and kissed the ground before him, Yahya asked him, "Who art thou?" He answered, "Hear me, O my lord. I am he who was done dead by the tyranny of fortune, but thou didst raise me to life again from the grave of calamities, and exalt me to the paradise of my desires. I am the man who forged the letter in thy name, and carried it to Abdullah bin Malik al-Qaziyah." Yahya asked, "How hath he dealt with thee, and what did he give thee?" And the man answered, "He hath given me thanks to thy hand, and thy great liberality and benevolence, and to thy comprehensive kindness and lofty magnanimity, and thine all-embracing generosity, that which hath made me a wealthy man, and he hath distinguished me with his gifts and favours. And now I have brought all that he gave me, and here it is at thy door, for it is thine to decide, and the command is in thy hand." Rejoined Yahya, Thou hast done me better service than I did thee, and I owe thee a heavy debt of gratitude, and every gift the white hand can give, for that thou hast changed into love and amity the hate and enmity that were between me and a man whom I respect and esteem. Wherefore I will give thee the like of what Abdullah bin Malik gave thee. Then he ordered the like of what Abdullah had given him, many horses and money and chests of apparel, such as Abdullah had given him. And thus that man's fortune was restored to him by the munificence of these two generous ones. And folk also relate the tale of Caliph al-Maamun and the stranger scholar. It is said of al-Maamun that among caliphs of the house of Abbas there was none more accomplished in all branches of knowledge than he. Now, on 2 days in each week he was wont to preside at conferences of the learned, when the lawyers and theologians disputed in his presence, each sitting in his several rank and room. One day, as he sat thus, there came into the assembly a stranger, clad in ragged white clothes, who took seat in an obscure place behind the doctors of the law. Then the assembly began to speak and debate difficult questions, it being the custom that the various propositions should be submitted to each in turn, and that whoso bethought him of some subtle addition or rare conceit should make mention of it. So the question went round about till it came to the strange man, who spake in his turn and made a goodlier answer than any of the doctor's replies. And the Caliph approved his speech. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased saying her permitted say. Now, when it was the 308th night, she said, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that the Caliph al-Maamun approved his speech and ordered him to come from his low place to a high stead. Now, when the second question came around, he made a still more notable answer, and al-Maamun ordered him to be preferred to a yet higher seat. And when the third question reached him, he made answer more justly and appropriately than on the 2 previous occasions. And al-Maamun bade him come and sit near himself. Presently the discussion ended when water was brought, and they washed their hands, after which food was set on, and they ate. And the doctors arose and withdrew. But al-Maamun forbade the stranger to depart with them, and calling him to himself, treated him with especial favor, and promised him honor and profit. Thereupon they made ready for the seance of wassail. The fair-faced cup companions came, and the pure wine went round amongst them, till the cup came to the stranger, who rose to his feet and spake thus. If the commander of the faithful permit me, I will say one word. Answered the Caliph. Say what thou wilt, quoth the man. Verily, the exalted intelligence, whose eminence Allah increase, knoweth that this slave was this day in the august assembly, one of the unknown folk, and of the meanest of the company. And the commander of the faithful raised his rank, and brought him near to himself, little as were the wit and wisdom he displayed, preferring him above the rest, and advancing him to a station and a degree whereto his thought aspired not. But now he is minded to part him from the small portion of intellect which raiseth him from high and his lowness, and made him great after his littleness. Heaven forfend and forbid that the commander of the faithful should envy his slave what little he hath of understanding and worth and renown. Now, if this slave should drink wine, his reason would depart from him, and ignorance draw near to him, and steal away his good breeding. So would he revert to that low and contemptible degree whence he sprang, and become ridiculous and despicable in the eyes of the folk. I hope, therefore, that the august intelligence of his power and bounty and royal generosity and magnanimity will not despoil his slave of his jewel. When the Caliph al-Maamun heard his speech, he praised him and thanked him, and making him sit down again in his place, showed him high honor, and ordered him a present of 100,000 silver pieces. Moreover, he mounted him upon a horse, and gave him rich apparel, and in every assembly he was wont to exalt him, and show him favor over all the doctors of law and religion, till he became the highest of them all in rank. And Allah is all-knowing. Men also tell a tale of Ali Shar and Zummurrud. Now, there lived once in a day of yore, and good old times long gone before, in the land of Khorasan, a merchant called Majid al-Din, who had great wealth and many slaves and servants, white and black, young and old. But he had not been blessed with a child until he reached the age of 60, when Almighty Allah vouchsafed him a son, who he named Ali Shar. Now the boy grew up like the moon on the night of fullness, and when he came to man's estate and was endowed with all kinds of perfections, his father fell sick of a death malady, and calling his son to him said, "O my son, the fated hour of my decrease is at hand, and I desire to give to thee my last injunctions." He asked, "And what are they, O my father?" And he answered, "O my son, I charge thee, be not over familiar with any, and eschew what leadeth to evil and mischief. Be aware lest thou sit in company with the wicked, for he is like the blacksmith. If his fire burn thee not, his smoke will bother thee." And how excellent is the saying of the poet, "In thy whole world there is not one whose friendship thou mayest count upon, nor plight of faith that will stand true when times go hard and hopes are few. Then live apart and dwell alone, nor make a prop of any one. I've given a gift, and what I've said will stand thy friend in every stead." And when another saith, "Men are hidden malady, rely not on the sham in them, for perfidy and treachery thou'lt find if thou examine them." And yet a third saith, "Converse with men hath scanty weal, except to while away the time in chat and prat. Then shun their intimacy, save it be to win their lore, or better, thine estate." And a fourth saith, "If a sharp-winded wight e'en try mankind, I've eaten that which only tasted he. Their amity proved naught but wile and guile. Their faith, I found, was but hypocrisy." Quoth Ali, "O my father, I have heard thee, and I will obey thee. What more can I do?" Quoth he, "Do good whenas thou art able. Be ever kind and courteous to men, and regard as riches every occasion of doing a good turn. For a design is not always easily carried out, and how well, saith the poet, "'Tis not at every time and tide unstable we can do kindly acts and charitable. When thou art able, hasten thee to act, lest thine endeavour prove anon unable." Said Ali, "I have heard thee, and I will obey thee." And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased saying her permitted say. Now, when it was the 309th night, she said, "It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that the youth replied, I have heard thee, and I will obey thee. What more?" And his sire continued, "Be thou, O my son, mindful of Allah, so shall he mindful of thee. Ward thy wealth, and waste it not. For an thou do, thou wilt come to want the least of mankind. Know that the measure of a man's worth is according to that which his hand hendeth, and how well, saith the poet, "When fails my wealth, no friend will deem befriend, and when it waxeth, all men friendship show. How many a foe for wealth became my friend? Wealth lost, how many a friend became a foe?" Asked Ali, "What more?" And Majid al-Din answered, "O my son, take counsel of those who are older than thou, and hasten not to do thy heart's desire. Have compassion on those who are below thee. So shall those who are above thee have compassion on thee, and oppress none, lest Allah empower one who shall oppress thee. How well saith the poet, Add other wit to thy wit. Counsel craving for man's true courses hides not from minds of two. Man is a mirror which but shows his face, and by two mirrors he his back shall view." And as saith another, act on sure grounds, nor hurry fast to gain the purpose that thou hast, and be thou kindly to all men, so kindly thou shalt be called again. For not a deed the hand can try, save neath the hand of God on high, nor tyrant harsh work tyranny, and crushed by tyrant harsh is he. And as yet another saith, tyrannize not, if thou hast the power to do so, for the tyrannical is in danger of revenges. Then I will sleep, while the oppressed wakeful will call down curses on thee, and God's eye sleepeth not. Beware of wine-bibbing, for drink is the root of all evil. It doeth way with the reason, and bringeth to contempt whoso useth it. And how well the poets say, by Allah, wine shall not disturb me, while my soul join body, nor while speech the words of me to explain. No day will I be thralled to wineskin cooled by breeze, nor choose a friend save those who are of cups unfeigned. This then is my charge to thee. Bear it before thine eyes, and Allah stand to thee in my stead. Then he swooned away and kept silent a while, and when he came to himself, he besought pardon of Allah, and pronounced the profession of the faith, and was admitted to the mercy of the Almighty. So his son wept and lamented for him, and presently made proper preparation for burial. Great and small walked in his funeral procession, and Quran readers recited Holy Writ about his bier. Nor did Ali Shar omit aught of what was due to the dead. Then they prayed over him, and committed him to the dust, and wrote these 2 couplets upon his tomb. Thou wast create of dust, and camest to life, and learnedst in eloquence to place thy trust. Anon to dust remaining, thou becomest a corpse, as though name taken from the dust. Now his son Ali Shar grieved for him with sore grief, and mourned him with the ceremonies usual among men of note. Nor did he cease to weep the loss of his father, till his mother died, not long afterwards, when he did with her as he had done with his sire. Then he sat in his shop, selling and buying, and consorting with none of the Almighty Allah's creatures, in accordance with his father's injunction. This wise he continued to do for a year, at the end of which time there came in him a craft certain whoresome fellows, and consorted with him, till he turned after their example to lewdness, and swerved from the way of righteousness, drinking wine in flowing bowls, and frequenting fair women night and day. And he said to himself, of a truth, my father amassed this wealth for me, and if I spend it not, to whom shall I leave it? By Allah, I will not do save, as saith the poet. And though the whole life thou gettest and gainest for self, say when shalt thou enjoy thy gains and gotten pelf? And Ali Shar ceased not to waste his wealth all whiles of the day and all watches of the night, till he made away the whole of his riches, and abode in pauper case, and troubled at heart. So he sold his shops and lands, and so forth, and after this he sold the clothes off his body, leaving himself but 1 suit. And as drunkenness quitted him and thoughtfulness came to him, he fell into grief and sore care. One day, when he had from daybreak to mid-afternoon without breaking his fast, he said in his mind, I will go round to those on whom I spent my monies. Perchance one of them will feed me this day. So he went round of them all, but as often as he knocked on any door of them, the man denied himself and hid from him, till his stomach ached with hunger. Then he betook himself to the bazaar of the merchants. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased saying her permitted say. And so do I cease my tale for the day, until it be morrow.